The crypt near Pineacre. A group of treasure hunters enters the recently uncovered crypt from which the red moss was dislodged during floods. Your aim is to find the source of the red moss and discover its weakness or otherwise destroy it. You have 2 burdens. Let's begin. You all enter the crypt, which was in the side of this hill face, and which was uncovered by Rias, incidentally. A bunch of tree coverage and boulders and things, or rocks. A sort of arched entryway. You go inside. The ceiling of the short passage is about 10 feet high. It does have this kind of vaulted shape. And the corridor is about 10 feet wide. And it goes forward just a little bit before it opens up into a large square chamber, about 30 foot square. The very first thing you see, and you still have enough daylight from outside without having to light a torch, the first thing you see in this room, which has even higher vaulted ceilings, is a statue, a white marble statue, standing on a plinth. Beyond that statue, there appears to be an iron door set in the far wall. And then to your left, as you enter, there is a corridor that breaks off that way. Your set goal here is to get past the iron door. What do you do?
Yargash, who is for this expedition largely at the back, being the camp surgeon, um, kind of like settles his bag and just says, I feel I do not need to remind any of you that it is absolutely pertinent to ensure that we do not bring another infection back to camp. Please take adequate precautions. And giving a cursory examination of it, not stepping too far past the threshold, he is sort of looking just warily for any sign of ill or like traps of that nature, studying like the stonework and the rubble.
Mm. It sounds like you are pressing ever deeper, even if you don't cross too far beyond the threshold. Do ask your questions, treasure hunter.
Indeed, I'm just looking to know if there's any like trap or harm that's in this immediate threshold, like whether that statue is suspicious or whatnot. Yeah,
Are you getting close to the statue, or are you just looking from like
just from the
20 feet away?
threshold, from like 20 feet away.
Mm.
Exactly. If there's any like immediate like traps or concerns in like the lead up or the immediate area, yeah.
Okay, you've got your hunt roll. You've got your first die for asking your questions. What about your second die?
I have a skill of deduction.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Deduction, deducing what is in plain sight, apparently.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a 5.
5. Go ahead and take your hunt token, but you do encounter something terrible. I will tell you a little bit more about the statue. This statue, you can even see in this somewhat dim light and at a somewhat distance. You can see that the statue depicts a grizzled knight, their hand resting on a sword, which is sort of, the sword is sort of like, stuck into the plinth before them. I will tell you that another thing you'll notice, um, interpreting terrible broadly here, is that in the corners of the room, there are sort of hanging from little shelves stone owls, kind of up above, just out of reach. Horgus, what are you doing?
I think Hargest has been looking in the archway and looking at the carvings and saying, "Oh yes, whoever built this built it well." Ah. And I think I'd like to basically try and do a hunt roll about just the actual structure itself, like see if we can get any clues. I have paths and construction, so
Mm. Yeah, I like that. Go ahead and ask your questions.
My question is essentially, can I learn anything about what's in here from how it was built, or essentially?
Mm.
I got a 5.
Take your token. I mentioned that well, I'll tell you what you can learn. There's something about the design of this space that seems to indicate that it is sort of an antechamber and not even really like the real crypt, so to speak. It's almost like a space that's meant to sort of like occupy thieves and such, you know? Um, how do you know that?
I think that just how the elaborate nature of the owls, all these sort of almost like telegraphed clues, and I just Hargus looks up and laughs and says, "Someone wanted us to waste a long time investigating this room, I think."
An interesting observation. I will tell you this, though, since you were looking up at the owls. I mentioned that the ceiling was quite higher here in this room. I'd say it probably goes up about 15, 20 feet. And the light does not reach that high, but your hearing does. And you hear just a slight scuttling on the ceiling. Obeha, what are you doing?
So we're all just standing outside of this
No one has
chamber.
walked in yet.
um, I think like Abeha being the type of person who is not as familiar with like crypts and whatnot, that's not my business. My business is more living things rather than dead things or nor architecture, nor stonework. And I think like as like the pair of them are just intensely like looking at this, and I'm just gonna go. So it's rock. It is a little bit of a doorway.
Yeah, I think Yargesh kind of like does a slight turn to look at Obeha with an unamused look and says, "Well, by all means, if you are an expert in delving, I implore you to take the lead."
Mm-hmm.
I think Rias at this point will step forward and actually like go into the space since everybody is kind of standing around outside. You mentioned this darkness that the light doesn't quite go up there fully.
No, you can see like the ground floor of, or like the kind of like eye level, like of the room before lighting a torch, at least. You don't have any torches lit yet. So yeah, but not, you can't see up into the darkness.
Yeah, I think the camera watching this would like see Rias's eyes flash in that way that a cat sometimes does when the light
Mm.
hits at the right angle.
Hmm.
I have the skill of darkness, but I also have a spear. And so I think between the two of those, I'm going to do a little poking and prodding around where this skittering was heard. Because if there is a trap up there, I'd like it to not spring behind us.
I think I understand the question, but if you have specific things you'd like to ask as you poke around, do so.
I think the question is if is there anything waiting for us in the dark of the ceiling,
Mm.
and if so, what?
Make your hunt roll. You've justified 2 dice. Go ahead.
Sure. 6.
6. Take your token. I will tell you that as you look up into the darkness, as you kind of poke around, and it sounds like maybe you have good like night vision, right, because of your eyes. You can sense everything looks, you don't see anything at a glance. It all just looks like the masoned stonework, though there is one particular part of the ceiling which looks almost like unfinished. There's like a big jutting piece of rock. It looks really out of place. What do you do?
You see this rock? Horgus, you seem to enjoy pontificating for many hours of the day about the specialness of some rocks more than others. What can you tell us about this one?
Well, I must say, rocks are kind of my thing, as you know. Thank you for noticing, Rios. Well, since you asked, I think I will look at the specific rock now it's been pointed out to me, because I'm fairly convinced, and we're convinced this room is just designed to sort of kill us or trap us. So now that Rios has seen the rock, I'm pretty positive the rock is supposed to do something to us, and I'd like to know what.
Yeah, you can go ahead and make your hunt roll.
Yeah, I think I have construction. So once again, if it's like a capstone, I'll know, or if it's a trap, I'll know, or
Mm.
whatever. Maybe. But that's my bid for it. I got a 5 again.
Mm. Take your token. You realize quite quickly it's not a rock at all. It is a creature in camouflage, and indeed, it drops down right into the center of you. It is a large, it looks like a spider, about 5 feet in diameter, but it has two crab pincher forelimbs. It drops down right in the middle of you all, and this is a combat. I just need if you're to tell me how you're exposed, if you're joining the combat, and roll a weak point.
Obeha is not very interested in the architecture, so when the rock got pointed out as being very fascinated, I just ignored it.
Indeed. Make you roll your weak point.
I don't think Yargash is participating in this combat, at least not for this first round. He's at the back.
Mm.
Of course. Rias is right next to it, and even though I think maybe it's that actually Horagust is slightly between him and it, and so he's got to sort of negotiate this awkward space, and he has a spear.
Fantastic. What's your weak point?
Three.
We have a 4, we have a 3. Horgust, are you fighting?
Yeah, Harigest is annoyed that it's not a rock and slightly disappointed, but was also expecting a trap and is sort of perversely amused by that. So, and my weak point is a 5. Thanks, dice.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. This is going to be a combat 3. The endurance of the thing is 7. I just need, we'll have Rias, you can roll.
Combat 3 on it. 3, 5, and 6, so 11 high.
11 high. The 5 and the 3 are hits, sadly. Let's go ahead and narrate this combat. Start it off, Rias.
Yeah, I think, like I said, Rias tries to step around Horagust, and it is awkward. And thought he saw one claw, but didn't see the other, and so it either cuts across him, or whatever. And actually, I think his shield was dented up. He still thinks it's useful, but it sort of gets batted slightly out of the way enough to draw like a jagged cut across him. But he gets a good spear hit on in return.
Increase your ruin, but also do note in your conditions the jagged cut, because that might affect how you get it healed later. Obeha, keep it going. Oh, go ahead. If you're chewing, Horgus can go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think as I think the majority of us have wandered in the room uh with only one of our compatriots who's still outside. I think like Obeha is like sort of circling around. I think with its sort of like I'm matching it. It's just a crab in my headspace. So like I'm maneuvering around its legs, trying to like find like where its hardened shell is like connected. And I think like I'm just gonna like take the sort of end of my staff, which has like a little bit of a point to it, so like it can stick into the dirt to just like try to like poke at it like its soft bits. It's going okay, I would say.
Horgus, you can finish it off.
I think as Obeha tries to get at the soft bits, Harigest also tries to find out where its eyes are, basically, and then sort of uncovers that it has this, like a sort of quasi crab, quasi spider face with multiple sets of mandibles, and they just latch on to Horrorghast's non-wooden shoulder, and he says, "I'm not edible," and just starts smashing it, and basically like caves its shell in, and between that and Obeha, we get enough holes in it that it stops attacking us.
Fantastic. Horgus, you can go ahead and roll a gold 7 as well.
Oh yeah. Let's try this. Oh, 1 gold.
1 gold. I just need someone to tell me what they harvest off of it, and whoever wants to take that thing, it's worth 1 gold. While you all think about that, I will tell you a little bit more about it. Yeah, it's like essentially a big kind of like 5 foot long spider, and it's it has the ability to blend into its surroundings. It's like a chameleon or an octopus. It can change its color. Indeed, you'll notice that the shell of the thing has, or the carapace has, like a kind of iridescent shimmer to it, which is interesting. And its endurance is 7 whenever it ends up in the bestiary. Yargosh, you're still probably maybe like surprised by this. The combat is over in seconds, of course. I will tell you that now that you've had time to settle in a bit, this place is very damp. It smells quite a lot of mold and damp fur. While they're kind of peeling apart this crab spider thing, I'll remind you of the statue, the iron door, and the corridor to the left. What are you doing?
Yeah, Yargesh had an inkling that this place might be damp and moldy. He reaches just past the collar of his surgeon's tunic to pull up a bit of like an undercloth to go across his nose and mouth, and then pulls a this like wooden mask out of his bag. It's of like a similar kind of monstrous design to something that like Obeha wears, but notably, different kind of like fearsome creature. He's like fixating that over his face as well. Someone in close proximity might realize that it smells vaguely of like certain herbs, almost like how like a plague doctor's mask is stuffed with that kind of stuff. So he's secured himself like that. And while they're busying themselves with what I'm choosing to call the rock lobster, I will enter. I will stride forth carefully to approach that statue a bit closer.
That's great. Ask your questions, treasure hunter.
Yeah. So like the statue's like next to the door.
No, it's like in the center of the room.
Oh, center of the room. Yeah. I'm just kind of like examining it over for if it looks like if it's like constructed decoratively, or does it seem to have some sort of like actual mechanism, any hidden like little niches or anything like that? Just kind of giving like little knocks around the base while just examining it very carefully.
Make your hunt roll.
I would again argue deduction.
Sure.
Oh, that's not good. That's a 2.
That's a 2. The statue is a white marble statue of maybe some mythical, legendary figure, some ancient god, who can say for sure. The statue is all white marble, clad in armor. It actually is holding its hand out as if beckoning, perhaps beckoning the dead to their final rest. It's standing on this little short plinth, so it's a little raised above you, right? The sword that it holds is kind of driven into the plinth. And the thing that maybe catches your eye there is that the pommel of the sword is inlaid with a ruby the size of your thumbnail. And since you got a 2, I'm going to tell you that, bewitched by the ruby, you begin messing with it just a bit. Maybe you touch it, and there's a little as a fine mist sprays from the pommel of the sword. But you had your face covered very cleverly, so nothing happens. But you might have to remove your face covering because you're just be inhaling this stuff.
Oh
over
yeah,
time.
he like very quickly like he'll at least take off the mask. The
Mhm.
cloth is still beneath it, and he'll just like curse under his breath and look over his shoulder, hopefully that no one saw that. But like he's like, fuck, just and sets it off to the side. And then turns and says, "I do believe the statue is trapped."
What is everyone else? What did you decide to call? Well, if you've named this thing, it's okay if you haven't named it yet, but I just
Mhm.
want to know what you take from its body and who's keeping it.
I
We
think
decided.
Yeah,
Oh, go. Sorry, Abejo.
I think like Horgus is like harvesting some blood from it, like blue blood,
Hmm.
which is very fascinating. I think while Yargash has been having this endeavor with the statue, we have been discussing the name.
Okay.
We're currently debating whether or not it's a crypt crawler or a camouflaging crypt crawler.
Very good. Well, you settle on something. That's fine by me.
Mhm.
What are you doing right now, Rias?
I was part of that discussion as well. But I think the hissing sound of the trap springing off will remind Rias to like take a piece of linen from his head wrap and just make sure that it's like securely around his face as well.
Indeed.
But after that, I think you mentioned there was a passage that goes off to the left, correct?
There is, yeah.
I'd like to, I think, peer down that a little bit.
You can see right away that there's just the passage is very short. It just leads to some stairs that go up.
Interesting. Because we're underground, but we entered the crypt. So to go up. Yeah, I think I'll go up the stairs.
You are pressing ever deeper in pursuit of your goals. Ask your questions, treasure hunter.
Oh boy. What lies at the top of the stairs is my question.
Make your hunt roll.
I'm gonna parlay for darkness here, as even though what lies in the darkness might threaten me, I think I need a little less light than other treasure hunters,
I'll
and
take
so
that.
I might be
Yeah.
as a surprise to others as well.
Yeah, I like that.
Cool. 2 die hunt roll. That's a 2.
That is a 2. Please go ahead and... Oh, you don't get any tokens, do you?
Nope.
I mentioned earlier that there's this smell of wet fur. You're about to discover the source of said smell as you see a trio of large, fat rats. They're about the size of small, like medium dogs, little dog-sized rats. They just come like rushing down the stairs at you. Collectively, they're only a 6 endurance, so you could kill them here. But I need you to tell me how you are vulnerable or how you're exposed and roll weak point.
I think I'm separated from the rest of my crew. And my weak die is 5.
Go ahead and make a combat 1.
Sure.
See if the die roller likes you today.
I mean, it does and doesn't. It's a 1.
Okay. Give me the first round of the combat.
I think as these rats come spiraling around at first, like Rias, it's like a boiling a frog in water. He sees 1 and 2, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. And then 10, and then it's like, that's a little odd. And then more, and Rias is like, oh, it's time to fall back. And by that time, they're falling all over him, and I think a couple even get on him and start to like try and gnaw into him, but he manages to just sort of like smash one of them against the wall with his shield, and he falls back into the main chamber with the rest.
There is a small swarm of large rats in the chamber with everyone now. If you are joining the fight, please tell me how you're exposed and roll
Yes.
weak point.
I think I will join. More specifically, I would like to rifle through my backpack first to procure some vermin repellent that I had actually
Oh,
brought in
nice.
my belongings as well. I am weak because I'm kind of already distracted. I've got some other things going on, so I'm like fumbling through my bag, caught a little bit off guard.
If you spend the vermin repellent, no combat. The rats are chased away out of the crypt.
It's 3 uses. Do I spend 1 use
Just
for it
one
or all
use is
three?
fine. Just one's fine.
Yeah, then in that case, I'll absolutely just say that I'll
Just
spend a
grab it.
use. And he like sees Rias like stumbling into the room and quickly like goes through his pack and then just like goes like Rias catch and like throws it this like vial of this like greasy awful smelling ungent that is probably frequently like used and burned around like the latrine and periphery of camp to keep these beasts away. But even if it's not burned, it is a potent repellent. So he tosses the vial over to Rhea since he's right there with the rats.
Rias drops the spear, catches it, undoes it, and just starts showering it everywhere.
Yeah, and the rats just kind of they just immediately are like repelled by it, and they scatter. Helpfully, they scatter out the crypt towards the sunlight, and they are no longer any trouble. Obeha, you're going to be collecting blood for a little bit after this situation calms down. Horagest, what are you doing in the meantime?
I think Haragast holds his nose and says, "Are you sure that's not everything repellent? That's disgusting." And I think Haragast is thinking maybe the open corridor potentially is also part of the distraction. And I want to know a bit more about is there something in the statue that the gem trap was protecting? What's with the deal with the grate? Is there a mechanism basically?
Make a hunt roll, yeah.
Yeah, and I think patterns is what I'm using here because I want
I
to
like
know.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know what's going on in this room. I got a 5 again, third 5.
Take your token. The trap is simple enough. Just the gem is like essentially a button, very sensitive, and if you press it, it causes this little spritz to come out of a tiny fine hole in the pommel of the sword. That doesn't mean you can't take the gem still somehow, but that's how it operates. But since you used patterns, what I think is more interesting in this situation is I mentioned those owls that are perched, the stone owls perched in the corners of the room. I'll also tell you that the armor on the statue is engraved with an image, or the image of it is 2 owls sitting in an oak tree. And just beyond the statue on the iron door is the same image, 2 owls sitting on an oak tree. I will also tell you that from somewhere deep in this place, beyond the iron door, nowhere nearby, but echoing off the stone from the depths of this place, you hear.
I think Haragast will communicate the information about the owls to everyone else while listening through the grate and saying, "That's slightly ominous."
Indeed. Everyone can hear the
Slightly.
crying. Yeah.
Slightly.
Well, I was being understated. You all say that I'm always exaggerating, that I'm too melodramatic. So I thought I'd be a little bit understated this time.
Okay.
Right.
That-
Rias, the stairs are clear now. You can go to the top of them if you wish.
Yeah. Before I do though, the owls in the tree do intrigue me as it relates to the situation here because I have symbols as a skill. So when it's pointed out that there's very clearly some symbolism going on, I'd like to just kind of I don't know if there's anything more to learn by piecing those things together.
I'll just tell you.
Okay.
You would have been at camp long enough to pick up a little bit of local legends, and this is just kind of confirmed by this side of these. But basically, the owl perched in an oak tree is a symbol associated with a legendary hero called Gavain. And this crypt is either the people who are buried here are like followers of Gavain. Maybe they are ancestors of Gavain, or they're descendants rather of Gavain. But that's the connection, is this legendary figure. That's probably Gavain depicted on the statue. So
Fair enough. Then, with that information armed thusly, I think, yeah, we will go head up the stairs.
the stairs are very short, just like maybe 10 feet in total. And they let out into what is called in these sorts of crypts the Mourning Chapel, Mourn, the Mourning Chapel. The stairs, you'll notice, are quite well trod, worn smooth through many, many years of use, though quite grimy and stained near the bottom, perhaps a result of the flooding that happened some weeks ago. When you get up into the room, the Mourning Chapel, it's a small chamber of religious respite where bodies were brought to be viewed before being entombed in the crypt proper. There are 2 wooden pews, quite warped and split. There are tapestries, water damaged, around their base, hanging from the walls. And there's a stone slab large enough to accommodate a body right before the pews, kind of catty corner. It's a very small chamber, about half the size of the one down below. What do you do?
Ooh, good question. Because I don't have a lot of skills that feel like they're particularly useful with the stuff that I've been given. Um, I think I'll trade a hunt token for a piece of treasure. Um, first of all,
Fantastic.
and then you mentioned a body by the pews.
No, it's just the slab is big enough for a body. This is where they
Oh,
would view it before burying it,
okay.
before entombing it. There's nothing on the slab, though, except your treasure. Um, you'll notice sitting on the corner of the slab, there is a small tarnished silver idol. Its inherent worth is very little, but it's of significant worth to people who are interested in things like this historically. And so it's worth 1 gold, this small tarnished idol. What are you doing right now, Horgust?
We were just saying, I'd like to before we move into the morning chapel, I want to spend 2 of my 3 tokens to get the gem from the sword.
You only need to spend 1.
Oh, okay, 1. Yeah, I'll do. I just know it's a curse to actually keep 3 hunt tokens. Yeah, so I'm not doing that. But yes, I'll do that, and then I think again, I'm just interested in the structure because I've learned quite a lot from the layouts. Like, are we in the real crypt now? Like, that sort of thing.
I mean, you got to get past that iron door. That's probably where the real stuff is.
Yeah.
Taking the gem is no trouble. It's worth 1 gold. You don't even need to note it as found equipment. Just note it as money. Oh, yeah, okay, Abeha, you're done collecting
Yeah.
your blood. What are you doing now?
Mhm. Okay. Well, there is this because like Horgus has offered interest in blood, like this crab thing. I do hand over the blood to Horgus. But in terms of like the iron door, there's owls in the corners, there's owls on the door.
Hmm.
Obviously, that is connected. How high are up the owls?
The owls in the corners are like they're just kind of perched in the corners, about maybe 10 feet up.
Okay.
And you'll also
Uh,
notice that the corners are sort of carved into stylized oak trees as well.
mhm. Uh, can I poke them with my staff to just like see if like they move at all or anything?
Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead and make your hunt roll.
Mhm. In terms of questions I have, most obvious, what connection do the owls have with the door?
Oh, interesting. We'll go ahead and roll.
Yeah, 1 light die for exploring, 1 light die for using my staff.
Sure.
token, but it is a 5.
There's a moment, ever so briefly, but enough to catch all of your attention, except for Rias, who's not down there. When you see someone materialize from the other side of the iron door, they're pale, they're translucent, this apparition, this phantasm, and they just sort of float to the center of the room, and they sort of turn toward the statue of Gavain, and then they turn to the wall opposite the staircase wall. And then they disappear. But nothing happened with the poking. Alice didn't do anything.
Now only Obeha saw that?
Everyone saw that.
Oh, everyone saw that.
Except for
Rias.
Rias,
Yeah.
who
Yeah,
is
Rias,
not there.
yeah. What are you doing, Yargosh?
Yargash was staring openly at this specter with, past the rim of his little mouth covering. His eyebrows just kind of like just went up in surprise. And then he just like turns his head to look at Obeha and just says, "I trust you saw that as well."
Yes. It appears that the crypt full of dead people is haunted.
We came to different conclusions, he's saying as he's like walking over to the wall that Spectre was looking at and is examining it to see if there's a secret like entrance or passage here, like in the stonework.
Ask your questions.
Yeah, is there a secret passage here? If so, is there a mechanism to open it? Is it trapped?
Make your die roll.
I think
I'm-
Hargast will laugh and be like, "Ha, he gets it. This guy gets it."
I'm a deductive reasoning, the ghost looked at it. That's a 5.
Okay. You don't, as best you can tell, it's just a solid stone wall. And it's been down here for a long time. There's a lot of, especially water damage near the bottom, and just natural sort of erosion over time. But you do notice something in the very, very, very tiny, like smaller than your thumb. In the center of the wall, there's a tiny engraving. And this little tiny engraving is of an owl in an oak tree.
Like,
It's the same symbol on the doors.
he runs his hand like along the little carving just to kind of like clear off some like wet and filth, and just says, "Curious. The owl is relevant. One could assume."
Rias, what are you doing after you grab your idol?
I guess I'll just, poke around the room, see if there's anything else particularly interesting in here. I'll go up to well, I'm already at the slab, the dais. But presumably if there's pews, there's got to be a place like that the priest would have been speaking from, or
It's a pretty small little space. There's just two pews and
Okay.
the slab and the tapestries hanging up. I mean, that's it. There's really nothing else to see in terms of geographically, but
do the tapestries tell any kind of interesting story, or
make the hunt roll.
cool? Again, I think the only thing I can really angle for here is symbols, but I
Yeah.
don't know if that's
I think that's fair. Yeah.
okay. Then we'll go with that. 2 die hunt roll. Oh, well, that's snake eyes.
Ah, great. You lose your tokens if you had any.
Good thing I spent them
Good thing
already.
you spent it, yeah. You will notice that the tapestries, the story they tell is mostly just their depictions of ancient heroes and people who you don't necessarily recognize. You'll also notice that the slab is carved with kind of similar scenes, but like with death motifs as well. This is, you know, just a little space that these ancient peoples would have brought their dead to honor them. You also notice that the tapestries are very thick, very, very thick with mold. Absolutely suffused with it. So much so that you thought that maybe they were dyed like a particular orangish red color. No, it's the mold. And one of the tapestry's hangings clatters to the ground as the tapestry falls to the ground. And there's a as the entire chamber is filled with spores. This is a risk roll. Do you need the text of the risk roll to guide us through it?
I think I'll be fine, but I'll pull it up just so we are official about it. What I hope will happen is that Rias is, having set himself up and covered his face earlier, will not inhale enough of the spores for it to be damaging or debilitating.
Mm-hmm.
What could go wrong here, guys?
You could inhale a big old lung full of
Yeah.
spores.
Yeah, it's just too much. The covering's not enough, and you are infected with some kind of disease.
Yeah. That
Oh,
sounds
or
better.
even like it just like gets into like the crooks and folds of your clothes.
Mhm.
So like even if it doesn't affect you, you might infect someone else.
Yeah.
Or it could be skin contact. There's all kinds of
Yeah,
horrible things,
yeah.
frankly.
Yeah,
Sure, yeah.
yeah. Like the only thing I can make it worse is like because of just the sheer amount of it in this room, it just like will just cause you to just start coughing and hacking it all up. It will be debilitating to get out of this room.
I can't
Um,
top those. Like
Mm.
those are all too good. Yep.
yeah.
I think your covering gives you your first die for
Okay.
sure, right?
Yeah. I am interested in hearing a devil's bargain. Um,
I have one actually because I wasn't appropriate for a fail state, but no matter what, the reappearance of the spores causes the moss to sort of break out from between the stones and start to grow prolifically within the chapel.
Mm.
I was gonna say that just like no matter what, since you're like reacting to this in this moment anyway, that tarnished crown you just picked up will be dislodged and shatter into on the stonework.
I'm going to say that just a bit of the spores kind of like gets in something in your equipment, making it unusable for the adventure until you have a chance to clean it off.
I'll take that. Equipment is replaceable, or cleanable.
Let me take a look at your stuff real quick. I'll tell you what got affected by it. You're on page 2?
2. Yeah, very first entry on page 2.
Hmm. Well, you don't have a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of why I was like, well.
Oh, I think it's your bow and arrows. Your arrows are coated with stuff, which could be helpful in some circumstance, but
Yeah.
but maybe dangerous to handle. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take that. I gotta push myself back into
Or I'll tell you what,
close
I'll mark 2 of your ammo slots until you can clean them off.
combat. Okay. But I won't need to like spend a gold to
No, you just have to. You just until you have time to really thoroughly clean them, they're not available.
I love that. We'll go with that. Am I risking mind or body here? Or is this moss inherently dangerous
Yes.
where it would be a dark die? Cool. So 2 light, 1 dark. Unless my condition would give me a second dark die.
What is your condition?
Jagged cut.
Nah, you're fine.
Okay.
Oh,
2 light, 1 dark. Let's go. That's 4 high, which is 4 dark high, which is higher than my current ruin. So that's gonna go up.
I think you are going to be fine. You're just a little. You have just a little bit of just a little bit of spore sickness. as a condition.
Sure.
Nothing you can't shake back at camp, and nothing that'll hurt you too badly here. Except for the fact that it increased your ruin.
Yeah, right?
That's not great.
Yeah, so I think like coughing now, Rias will come back down from the chapel like, no, there's nothing up there.
Are you well, Rias?
Some mold. Some mold, just not the moss. At least not the same stuff. Just
You are
normal,
certain it is a different moss?
not moss.
Mold.
There's been no sign of the moss so far.
Good. We were just deliberating over what to do about this owl.
I was just telling Yagash that he should press the button. It worked really well last time.
I don't think it's a button, Horgus. I believe it's a carving.
How will you know if you don't press it, Yagash?
He just blinks and then like presses his finger against the wall.
Into the little engraving?
Yeah.
Nothing happens.
What a curiously malfunctioning button, Mr. Horgus.
I'm very disappointed. See, was that hype? Was that? I said I was very disappointed. Not I'm quite disappointed. Okay.
Omeha, what are you doing right now?
As the argument about this button is underway, because like there is like sort of like the owl and whatnot is like sort of opposite of the statue and whatnot, like using the little symbol on the wall as a sort of centering point. Could I follow it where it would be on the equivalent of the statue height wise?
There's nothing there. That's not anything.
Nah.
Yeah. It's a good
Okay,
idea,
well-
but there's nothing else to do with the statue or the wall. The set
Okay,
goal is
well
to get to
then-
the iron door.
Okay, well then I go over to the iron door and, well, is there like a handle or something?
There's not a handle, but there is very clearly a lock mechanism. When unlocked, it's like a double door, it just pushes open, right?
Okay, well,
You can see that at a glance.
if this is not too cheesy, because I think I'm just gonna take out a vial of acid and pour it on the lock.
Oh, okay. I think that works great. If you spend the acid, I think it will eat away at the. But it's really not so much that like the lock was even like locked. It's just like so corroded that the mechanism doesn't allow it to be like opened.
Okay.
Indeed, there's a whole image on the door that is like partially covered by rust and corrosion.
Well, what is that image?
It's covered in rust and corrosion.
Oh, yeah, it's there.
But the acid could tear it away if you were to
Okay.
use the acid.
I will use it.
Yeah, erase it. You can clear away enough of the corrosion and the rust to reveal the rest of the image. It does depict the two owls in the oak trees. And near the bottom, there are 3 words underneath the oak trees. The words, the 3 words underneath are strength, wisdom, knowledge. And the door pushes open. Set goal complete.
I suppose whatever grandiose overtures of some entry requirement has indeed weathered with time.
I suspect it was simply a distraction to get the crypt crawling creature to eat us alive.
Perhaps. Well, looking past the threshold, I'm assuming it's dark in there.
We need a light source.
I have a nice glowing geode that we can use as a light source.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, look, even his rocks glow, he mutters to Obeha.
You can see ahead of you a corridor that appears to go down a little bit beyond the nimbus of light, but at least 30 or 40 feet. You can even see about 30 feet ahead where it splits off on either side to two other angled corridors. So imagine like a sort of like a Y shape. It keeps going, but then it kind of branches off. Who's in first?
Rias, why not? It seems that we have Oveja, we have a surgeon, and we have a horror guest. So I think Rias is probably taking the lead.
Go ahead and you are pressing forward in search of your new set goal, which is discover the moss's weakness. Ask your questions as you step forward, Rias.
Let's see. There's a fork, so let's say what lies at the end of the right fork.
Yeah, so you step forward a little bit. Go ahead and make your hunt roll. Let's see how how that
Sure.
goes.
We do have a light source. It is Horagest's glowing geode.
I think that's good for at least an initial delve. I don't think it's going to last you. I
Sure.
think it's good for a hunt roll all the time. But
Yeah, if not, I'd also argue darkness as I always will in this space. Well, maybe I should come up with better, more creative arguments because that's 3.
you encounter something terrible. Regrettably, as you're stepping forward, you step. You get about maybe 20 feet in. You haven't quite reached the split yet or the fork. You get a little bit in, and you'll note, first of all, that the walls, and indeed the vaulted ceilings, are covered in the red moss. The red moss was not on one side of the iron door, it is absolutely on this side of the iron door. So that's one thing. It's there, it's ominous. The camp's been dealing with it for a few days in different ways. Maybe it's the sight of the red moss that prevented you from noticing an array of mosaics on the floor. And when you step on the mosaics, they give way and drop you into a pit. Now, fortunately, because of the recent flooding, the drop that would have killed you just bruises you up a bit because it's wet at the bottom. There's water at the bottom. But maybe more interesting is what the rest of you see is you see Rias plummet down. There's a crack, plummets, and then there's a and the pit is covered up by a sliding door that seals Rias in. Rias, you are in a perfectly dark, wet pit. What are the rest of you doing? What's everyone doing?
That was really surprising.
What? A
Uh,
trap in a crypt? Who would have thought it? This is fine craftsmanship. Oh, sorry, that was a bit flippant. Let's try and figure out how to get this open before he drowns and dies.
Damn it. Yargash rushes forward and like kneels next to the spot where the trap opened and just sort of like bangs up against the stone and is just calling out, Reese, can you hear me through that thing?
Rias, the water's only like maybe like not even hip deep, maybe like knee deep. You get a little bruised up, and you can take bruised up as a condition, but no ruin increase or anything, and you're fine otherwise. You're down about maybe 20 feet or so.
Yeah. I think now if I think I can reach into my backpack and probably grab a torch. Might have some that are not wet. But this might be a good time to light one.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. Let me
At a
make
glance, there's nothing to see down here except just the narrow confines of this pit. And you can hear the people calling down to you, and you can see the the pit is sealed up by a little mechanism that caused a door to slide over the top of it.
Well, usually when there's pits like this, there's normally something in them that is eager to kill the adventurer that stumbled into them. I'd like to know what that is before it gets the drop on me. So I am going to swing this torch around and peer into the darkness, looking for something that is out there to kill me. Or alternatively, an escape. Maybe the flooding destroyed whatever mechanism was supposed to kill me, and I just need to find a way out of here. Oh, you're
Jason, you're
muted.
muted.
Yeah, go ahead and make your hunt roll.
Cool. Will the torch give me a second light die here?
Absolutely.
Sure. Well, there's a 6. Oh, by golly.
Take your
Needed that.
token. There's nothing down here with you. It's just a little small. You can like reach. You can touch the sides with your arms. Like it's not very wide, and there's just water, and you're not kicking around anything. There's not even any other spikes or anything. It's just a drop, basically.
Up
Is
What's
there a
everyone
way
else doing?
I was gonna say, yeah, up top. Can I like kneel down next to the slab and like run my hand along it and see if I can figure out like how we could get this open, like
It can
leverage
be
or something?
if you just have like a crowbar or something, you can just prise it open. No trouble.
Oh, perfect. If no one is willing to have a crowbar, I could pull one from my bag.
Or
But
I
I'm
have
a doctor.
unfall. I have unfall actually, so I could just sort of anti-grav it open if we have sufficient time to do it at length and write all the
Well,
runes.
the door is like slid across, like it basically
Oh, so
creates a
it's a
new
it's a
floor.
horizontal.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, so it
horizontal.
went. Okay,
Not
so
gravity.
Yeah, you
no.
just got to get it open, and you can
Yeah.
haul Rias out. It's no trouble.
Yeah, it's like we would need like a crowbar and some rope. I can like supply the crowbar, but I don't have any more slots for rope. So
Um, I can have rope. That's fine.
You brought rope. What a good surgeon you are. You never know when you would need such a thing.
Never know when you need to lift somebody up out of a place. Yes.
It's no trouble to pry open the lid and drop the rope down, and Rias, you can be back with the others. A little wet, but otherwise fine. The water was filthy. I will tell you that maybe it's just the way the light plays on the moss, but yeah, I'm sure it's nothing. It's just a trick of the light. So the corridor keeps going down, and there's two branches, one to the left, one to the right. What are you all doing?
Pressing on forward, it sounds like.
I will
Maybe
tell you
this
that
time.
the branches, you're probably close enough now to where I can tell you that you can see that they're stairs, and they both go up to what are structures. Like you can see what they go up to. There's like rooms, structures up above your head. This part of the crypt has a very, very tall vaulted ceiling. And if you continue down the path straight ahead, it looks like it goes underneath, or it turns and goes underneath the structure to the right. Right. So
I think perhaps top and then down would be the better course of action. I would hesitate to go deeper without a bit of understanding of what's on top of us. We should go to that structure.
I agree.
all right.
there are two, one to the left and one to the right.
Yeah, I would say, well, how brave are you feeling?
Split the party.
Split the party, or shall we do a united front?
I would say a united front. We've already had one pit incursion for today. I'd rather not have
Yes.
another.
That is fair. I will defer to whichever direction the more experienced hunters have in mind.
I think perhaps while this conversation's been going on, Horogas did see the trick of the light on the moss and is saying, "Everyone, I think something is amiss." And
What gave you that idea?
Uh, so no, something more is amiss. I'm gonna be looking at the moss and trying to figure out what I saw.
Ask your questions.
I'm not sure I have anything. Yeah, I think I don't think I really have a. I'm trying to think of if I could use construction again to try and figure out. No, or I don't know, patterns again, maybe perhaps like because I noticed the connection. I think I might be reaching here, so maybe it's going to be a one die hunt roll.
I will note that I do have illusions as a skill. So if
Maybe
you
when I
want, you could
draw
put
it, yeah,
yeah.
maybe maybe we could do it together and make it a two die hunt roll, and I'll take the risk, but we could sort of do it together, or
Yeah, I mean, I think there's really, I mean, if you're just examining the moss, I'm not sure like what if there's like a particular tool you're using or a particular way you're doing it. I think that makes sense.
not with my fair skin for a start. I'll use my wooden hand.
Indeed, that's good. Roll two dice.
Sorry, my arm kind of becomes the second one then, doesn't it?
It does
Oh,
indeed.
that's a 3. Wonderful.
Oh, goody.
The moss appears to be just this strange orangish red moss that you've all become quite familiar with in recent days. And it begins to wrap and move and curl ever so gently around your wooden hand. And let's take a 5-minute break. Yeah, so the moss moves, horror guest. Only when prodded, it seems. Good thing to be mindful of, I suppose. So, where are we going?
I think the intention's to go up. So the path to the right went above the structure straight
Right
ahead.
and left goes above, yeah.
The path to the right leads up to a structure that goes over your current path. The path to the left goes just to another structure up above.
I vote right, honestly, as a player.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think Horrorgast is on board with the idea that these structures are designed to split up and sort of contain the group, so sticking together is the best idea. And right, yeah.
Yeah, you can certainly go up to the right. There is a short flight of stairs. Assuming you're being a little more careful than last time, there's no trouble getting up the stairs. You get into the defleshing chamber. The flesh, of course, being an anchor to the mortal realm, in order to reach the great beyond, the bodies must be prepared. The flesh removed. You'll see the various things connected to that as you look around. First things first, there are lining the shelves what appear to be large clay jars. There are a number of tables in this room. The room's about 30 feet square. And there's a statue, a black obsidian statue, situated so that on a plinth, so that's sort of overlooking the process. And in the center of the room, there's like on the floor a large, it appears to be like a large, like seal or cap on the ground. Plenty of things to look at. What do you all do?
Yeah, Yargish is going to walk over to those clay jars on the wall, and without like picking any of them up quite yet. Are we talking like torso size, smaller?
Maybe a little smaller. Yeah.
Okay. Are they like sealed with like wax or anything? Or
You're asking questions. Make a hunt roll.
I am.
Let's do it.
Yes, I
Yeah.
am. I have my assumption is that these are like canopic jars. Like they contain like organs or removed parts. So could I use my skill of surgery?
Absolutely.
Cool. Oh, that's a 2.
Well, you're correct. They are canopic jars. You can crack one of them open, and you get the immediate, like, intense smell of embalming fluid, and there's organs sloshing around in there. So that's not great.
I think this kidney is liquefied.
Indeed.
Well, the flesh has to go somewhere, Yargash. How can you have a defleshing chamber with nowhere to keep the flesh?
He looks at this old man incredulously, but just goes back to the jar.
The canopic jars are almost certainly where they stored the organs for the various bodies and things. Yeah. What are you doing, Horgast?
You had me at capstone. Yes, so yes, I'm immediately drawn to the capstone.
Don't lift that capstone, old man.
Well, yeah. So the center of this room, there is this this capstone, this large, like it's almost like a plug, like stuck into the stone. Ask your questions.
What is it plugging? I mean, are there any indications from its composition? Can I use my geomancy or my sort of patterns to see what it's made of?
Yeah, I mean, just what is it made of? I think that makes sense to me. Or what is it plugging? Is it good enough for the roll?
I got
at
a
least?
6. I got a 6.
Take your token. It's not totally clear unless you open it. But it's a very, very good seal. Like whatever it is meant to be airtight. Obeha, what are you doing?
I think I'm helping with Horogress because like so far like Yarga like the defleshing room. God, this is a morbid place. This is horrendous. I don't know why we came here, really. I do know why we technically came here because money and whatnot. But however, this is a very strange group, and I think like Horgress is in a general manner better mood, and so like I will help, I guess, deplug this thing.
How so?
I'm gonna like because Horgress does like have a defalling ritual, or says he does. So like I'm gonna like try to like break the seal like with with like a crowbar to see like if I can like jam it to like chip away at like the stone and whatnot because it's like too big to like lift it on the own.
Yeah, the unfall is a good use here because it allows you to reverse gravity. I think as long as you can, if you do a help to like crack it
Mhm.
open, that will lift the plug. That's going to take a minute. Rituals take time in
Mhm.
Salt and Iron, so you'll be working on that for a while. What are you doing, Rias? Assuming you're okay with doing the ritual, Horrorgast.
Definitely. And I think as we're doing it, Torgus turns to Beha and says, once I broke into a barrow using this very ritual to lift a giant stone off the entrance. Sometimes things repeat themselves in treasure hunting.
Mhm.
Well, you're still here, so perhaps we'll have a similar outcome.
I'm
Um,
too nasty to die. I refuse to die until I have been annoying as possible.
uh, so we've got a few folks over at the
Two people
plug
working on the plug. Yargosh is cracking open
investigating.
canopic jars.
So I think the last major point of interest was that statue.
There's a big
Sounds like.
statue that looms over it all. Yeah.
And I guess I might as well go ahead and look at the statue, look in to see if there's. It is kind of curious, don't you think, that there's a statue in the middle of a defleshing room? That's a very symbolic thing to have here. So yeah, I'll look around and see if there's any symbols or identity on it. Does it match the Gavain statues from above?
Yeah, go ahead, make your hunt roll.
Sure. Will symbols give me a
Oh, yeah, I think that's appropriate here. Yeah.
sure? Boy, howdy, that's a 3 high.
Something you will something you will perhaps be mindful of. You might notice is that this crypt has had this really particular musty smell. This fungal smell, this vegetative smell, right? This wet smell. But this room doesn't have that smell at all. It's almost like when you walked in here, the environment just changed. Indeed, as you're looking at the statue itself doesn't have any particular meaning to you. It's a black obsidian statue with skeletal features, um, wearing kind of a cloak. It's like a depiction of some kind of death type, you know, god or something, right? But it's very clean. It's very clean. It's very shiny. This room feels quite pristine. Yargosh, what are you doing right now?
I would like to spend a hunt token to find a piece of treasure while I'm looking through these jars.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to tell you that uh, you find not the jars themselves are maybe not something you would be like. I mean the it's interesting, I guess. There might be some kind of like, I don't know, people who do dark things with organs might appreciate this in some way. But maybe more interesting to you is there is a set of tarnished but still razor sharp ancient surgical tools worth 1 gold
Yeah, I'm
on a
absolutely
shelf.
admiring those. And could I also like take one of these canopic jars, just mostly for like taking the embalming fluid? It doesn't even have to be valuable. I just kind of want to have it as a scientific curiosity.
Yeah, you can take it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Canopic jar of liquefied organ and embalming fluid.
Love it.
Um, but I think after I pocketed away these tools, he'll turn his attention to what Obeah and Horagest are putting their minds to, and he'll blink as he says, "Are we absolutely certain this is a good idea?"
No, but well, there's not too much around here besides, well, embalming things.
And the
What
big
they
obsidian
said.
statue and the tables.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Listen,
nothing that we can take home with us.
if you want to live for a very long time, firstly, why did you come to the Caldor? Secondly, why did you join a mercenary company? And thirdly, why are you down here? We have to open the damn plug to get to the next stage. That's how treasure hunting works.
Have any of you particularly given thought to the fact that this room is quite clean?
It is. I hadn't quite realized that until now.
Leads one to ask, what is keeping it so spotless in an otherwise abandoned and dilapidated tomb?
Why is there no moss here?
That's an interesting question. Not a speck of red in this place.
Something that can consume the moss.
I immediately like I like it's like
I
Ria.
like I
Go ahead.
like I think like Epeha like stops what they were doing of like trying to unplug it and like takes the crowbar back.
Immediately, I'm like, whatever is the nearest light source, whether it's a torch or a Horgus gem, I'm like, I want to take that and like hold it like close around surfaces because I'm like, is there residue of anything like slithering around in here of like that would like eat filth and moss? Like, I'm paranoid now.
I don't know if it's quite rise to the level of hunt roll, just because I'm going to
Okay.
tell you the same thing.
Mhm.
It's very clean. There's no trace of moss anywhere. In fact, the moss ends right at the threshold of the door to this space. It's
We
like the
could sort of
moss won't come in here.
we could short the set by using 3 tokens, and so that we don't have to poke something that will kill us.
Do you
Good,
want to go
yeah.
ahead and try to open this plug with your ritual, assuming you've been doing your ritual preparations, Horagast?
Oh, I think Karagas looks at Obeha, who's shaking their head, and looks at the plug and looks and says, basically says, "It's treasure hunting, folks," and just carves the last rune and the plug left.
Guide us through the risk roll, please, Horagast.
Okay, well, I mean, what could go wrong? So many things.
I am the sole decider and arbiter of what's going to go wrong here because there is one specific thing that's going to go wrong. But I am interested in other people's ideas as it relates to the magic. But I know what's in the hole.
Yeah, I think Horgest could get caught in his own runes and be unfold and kind of, put like in 0G.
I think the plug, once it gets loose, is just going to go flying, and like there is going to be like this huge ass seal flying through the
Like
room.
pinballing around the room.
Yeah. God. I'm
I can't
so
really
scared.
beat either of those. So
A lot of danger on tap, Horagast. What do you got for your or keep going?
Well, I mean, in terms of the skills, I mean, I've got construction, and I'm sort of using my unfold ritual to. So basically, I think I'm trying to carefully do it. So maybe I could then break the circle, and it will just drop again. So if I kick the circle, I raise some runes, the thing will just fall again.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It's like a controlled demolition kind of thing. So that's what my argument for the die,
Yeah, I'll
the
take it.
first
Yeah,
die.
yeah.
And then, of course, there's so many things that could be a devil's bargain. I would love to hear them.
No matter what, there is a very, very unpleasant creature on the other side of the plug.
wait, is that a devil's bargain? Meaning you can say no to that?
He's very coy looking about this. So
Yeah, that's just Jason. I don't have any devil's bargains like that I can think of. Yeah.
I think no matter what, I think just the nature of this room having this sort of looming figure of death affects magic in a very weird way, where it just meshes it all together. I think there's going to be like an unexpected magical backlash.
Interesting. Hmm. I can play with that.
Mhm.
You don't have to accept a devil's bargain.
and yeah, I am actually I really like the idea of an unexpected magical backlash. So I'll take Chaotic's option.
Interesting indeed. I'm gonna play with that. You've got 2 light die. You have to do a dark die because of the ritual.
Mm. Oh, I got a white 6.
White
Amazing.
6, love that.
Wow.
Give us, obey how you can help in the fiction, even though we don't need it on a die. But let's have I just want to know what this looks like preparing the magic, completing the magic, causing this big granite plug to lift out.
I think it's like between Obeha and Horagest, there's a big circle of runes drawn out all around the plug, and then a central rune in the middle, and that's the one we do last when I say, "That's treasure hunting, folks," and do that one. And basically everything looks great at first, and the plug starts to neatly vertically rise perfectly, shook, out of the hole. And I imagine there's some kind of weird gust of air or something, but then everyone's looking and everyone looks a little bit relieved just for a second, and then I imagine something then goes horribly wrong.
There is a smell, a noxious fume that comes out of the this little, it's like a well built into the structure basically. You A lot of you have been like covering your mouths for different reasons, so that won't bother you. But you can glance down inside and see that this little hole, this little well in the floor of this space is essentially a vat filled with acid. Now that's interesting. Probably used for the cleansing of the bones or whatever, right? But the magic starts to go a little funny at this point. The acid starts to rise up. Not all of it,
Oh,
but some of it starts to rise up out of the well. And then it begins to form into beautiful geometric shapes. So you have to imagine this beautiful, beautiful, vibrant neon green acid forming into spheres and into crystalline shapes, into like rectangles and things. It's just forming into these like little shapes, and they're hovering all about the room. And they get caught in the geode light, and the light of the geode, which is an eerie light, makes them look very beautiful. It's a very beautiful scene. And then they begin flying in all directions, smashing acid everywhere. I need one of you to make a plan for that. You can get help from the others, but one of you has to be in charge of the die roll here of how to avoid being attacked by floating acid missiles.
I technically could unravel this ritual,
I don't.
but
You don't.
I
You
would
don't have
need.
time for that.
Yeah,
You-
that's.
There's no time for rituals. This is a duck and cover or block everybody thing.
Mhm.
If no one has an idea for anything, I can start I can angle for it. Being that I am a surgeon and I was at the back, I can probably tell something's amiss, and I just yell at him hit the floor, you fools! Just and throw
There are
myself on the
tables,
side.
right? I mean,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
quickly overturn
Oh,
the
yeah.
table
Mhm.
and just yell for people to get behind cover right now.
I think that guide us through the risk roll, and you can take help from the others as
Yeah,
needed.
obviously, what I'm hoping is will happen is that we can secure cover from the acid before it launches.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ubeha is sort of literally just hits the floor and starts crawl the ground trying to get to Yargashot's table little enclave that
Yeah.
he's aboard quickly.
Yargosh, I'm going to tell you what could go wrong here. You get smashed by acid.
That's pretty wrong. Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other additional things that could go wrong here? Because otherwise, I'm open to devil's bargains.
Even more acid comes out, and basically the volume of the shapes increases in proportion to the air that is not acid crystals.
Acid storm. It's like that old D&D magic item that creates the globular acid, or magic
Oh,
or
God.
spell.
If-
Yeah.
If we're still in what could go wrongs, then I mean,
think
let's
we're
just
still in
go.
wrongs.
Let's just go classic dungeon. It weathers the pedestal that the statue's on, and the statue's gonna fall towards somebody.
Oh, fuck. Fuck
Oh, that's
yeah.
pretty bad. Yeah,
Very,
that's pretty
very action movie. Let's go.
Lots of bad options here. Where's your first die coming from?
bad. So my first die is coming from, I could argue, once again in favor of deduction of that acid's unstable and about to launch. I can see it quivering in the air and assume the
That's
worst
too.
is coming. Damn
No,
you.
that's too cute
Okay.
to have. No.
Okay. Punishment as a skill, perhaps.
Oh, what about the tables? Because
I'll take the tables. Yeah, I think the
Oh,
tables
okay. I
make
didn't know.
sense.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The tables. Then yeah. Then
Yeah.
those count. Yeah. So that's my first one. I'm open to devil's bargains. If anyone has some ideas for one.
Something from your gear gets hit by an acid globule and is destroyed.
Pretty good one.
My choice.
Your choice. Okay, fun.
No matter what, immediately following whatever the resolution is, we begin to float as well, and everything else that is not acid also begins to float.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it was mentioned in chat, so I will go ahead and float it as a devil's bargain that no matter what, the statue will get hit by enough acid to where it will fall.
Yeah, that's a good
Possibly
one.
endangering somebody else. Or
Okay. Chaotic, you got anything for me?
Not really. These are all so tasty.
I gotta admit, I'm a big fan of the fizzy lifting drink thing of like, oh, and now we're all floating in the air. Because that seems fun and slightly less dangerous after the acid is dispersed. I'll take that one.
Two light, one, and it's got to be one dark, right? So
Absolutely one dark. And I will happily accept help rolls from anyone who wants to contribute. So here I go. Okay, so that's a 4, and my rune's gonna go up by 1, unless we can get some help rolls at
yeah, somebody can make it a 6, and that would help you a lot.
a 5 or a 6 would help me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to pay my dues for causing this problem. So I think I'm just trying to think. I think Hogarth basically will like someone doesn't you don't quite get behind the plinth in time, and Horrorghast is sort of cackling and sort of pushes you and rolls under as well in a sort of sprightly way.
Roll a help die.
A 5.
Well, that's good. At least it prevents your rune from going up, Yargish. But there's still the basic problem of the complication, right? I think the complication is going to be one thing I will become clear is when you start floating up, you're going to see that this room actually has like cutouts near the top that actually look down into the space that you came from. And there's plenty of red moss there. And the complication is you will lose control and float up out of this room into the red moss waiting up above. Maybe somebody can help you and get you a 6 to avoid that.
yeah, I think no good deed goes unpunished. But yeah, I think Rias is gonna jump forward and try and do the floaty bounce across the room, the floaty 0G bounce across the room, and try and keep.
Well, to be clear, right now it's just dodging the acid. That's all
Okay.
we're doing. Yeah.
Then I think Rias will help out just by help sliding into place and getting another table just overturned at the same time. So that's how I expose myself to danger, and it's gonna be a 4. I see it coming. No, that's a 3, which
It's not helpful, but at least it didn't
Yeah.
hit the dark die. Obeha, do you want to get a help roll in here?
Yeah, I think like since we're all are like all like getting into like one spot, just making sure like we stay down and like making sure like any sort of like tables, like if like any of the acid gets too close, like lifting it a little bit up just so like to like block it off. So it, like eats the table rather than us. So let's see. Um, I think it's just like how I'm risking myself to danger. So like we're all in one spot.
Yeah.
And it's a 5. My God.
Well, at least your ruin doesn't go up, Yargosh. And I've said the complications, so you say what the scene looks like, how you're all safe from the acid, but then floating starts happening.
Yeah, and is it all of us who are at risk of like floating up into the thing, or just me?
Just you.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Oh.
So, like, after, like, we throw ourselves behind the table, the shapes explode outward, they like splatter against the surfaces. I imagine that since this room has been so clean and pristine, that there's like nothing is really getting burned or even damaged in here. Like, it's maybe even like a little hissing on the table, some of that cool, acrid VFX smoke coming off of where the acid splashed. But as like, we had this moment of like, phew, suddenly it's like, oh wait, now we're getting like lifted up in the air, and Yargash is like, flailing his arms, only causing him to like kind of like spin a little bit more out of control, and realizes, oh god, he's floating up into the red moss. Acting very quickly, considering he had rope earlier, he is going to like like toss the rope to one of his other floating companions just so they can maybe like yank him and steer him a little bit better.
That's good enough for me. I don't need you to make a roll. I like the way you've described it. Rias or someone can grab the rope and pull you back into this room instead of floating out into the central chamber where the red moss is. It's interesting though that the red moss hasn't even like crept in from that opening in the ceiling, right? They have given this room a complete wide berth.
Yeah. If
Or I guess are you eventually going to get everybody down? What does that look like? Because you're all just bobbing around.
I think one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 2 of my tokens to grab pieces of floating valuables out of the air, and then I will erase the rune. Maybe Obeha and I can get to the runes and obfuscate them so that the magic ends. But I want to get some treasure.
Yeah, spending tokens. Let me let me take a look at that really quick here.
While Jason's looking, I will vocalize as well that I have a hunt token left, and I'm happy to contribute towards solving this set goal.
I
'Cause
kept
clearly-
one too with
Yeah.
that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one. I'll put in the third.
You're all spending hunt tokens?
Clearly, there's something going on with the moss in this room.
I'm spending 2 for treasure, and I'm spending 1 to contribute to the other 2 so that we get 3 to solve the set.
Once the magic wears out or wears off and you all float back down to the floor and the plug falls harmlessly to the ground, you can do some experiments with the acid that's remaining in the vat. And you discover that the moss reacts to the presence of the acid. It retracts. It visibly moves back. The weakness is the acid. It's scared of it.
Most fascinating. And yet this thing has sat sealed for who knows how long. Perhaps it is merely that potent. Well, this will be very useful going forward.
Cycles met.
Yeah. I would like to spend a hunt token to find some treasure.
Indeed. Let me grab some things here. There are just a few things kind of floating around that are of interest to people who work in this room that have some value. Horrigus, the first thing you're going to grab out of the air, you'll plucked out of the air, is a pair of gauntlets used for handling the acid. They are worth 1 gold. Obeha, you are going to find a silver holy symbol that is relevant or of some interest to the people who used to be in this space. It's a silver holy symbol worth 1 gold. What was the other expenditure?
I spent 2 tokens, so there's potentially 2 things.
One of yours doesn't have, there's no like immediate obvious gold value to it, but it is a flask filled with a silvery liquid.
How deep was that acid pit, by the way?
I would say about maybe, it's not very deep at all, like maybe 3 or 4 feet.
Oh, could I actually as long as the lid's still off, could I grab one of those canopic jars, just dump out the fleshy liquefied remains, and like scoop some of the acid into the jar as well?
Jar
And
of
like,
acid.
defensive measure.
Yeah, I was about to say, may we all, if
Everyone can take a jar of acid. There's plenty.
We can use we use the acid gauntlets.
You can use the acid gauntlets to handle
Yeah.
it safely. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome.
So can I effectively unmark my vial of acid?
Top it off, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is going to take yeah, sure, that's fine. This is all going to take a minute. And while you're all doing this up in this room, you start to hear a sound. This sounds a little bit like a rattling sound, a clacking sound, and pouring into the room, coming up from the stairs, are a bunch of skeletons. And the skeletons, they are wrapped in the red moss, but it's all just dead red moss, kind of wrapped in around their skulls, around the ribs, around the joints. There are like 6 of them, and they just clatter into the room. You are in combat, Rias. If you're in it, please tell me how you're exposed and roll weak point.
I think even though the runes were obscured and the magic technically ended, I think Rias is still a little more floaty than usual, and every now and then bounces a little more than he's anticipating.
Fantastic. Who else is in it?
I'll just vocalize what I typed in the chat just for clarification. Are the moss skeletons having any reaction or aversion to this acid space?
No, no.
Okay.
They're just covered in the moss, but it's like old moss. It's
Oh,
like
gotcha.
not alive anymore. Yeah.
Sure.
Weak point is
Oh.
2, by the way.
Weak point of 2. Fantastic.
I think the weakness is like for Obeya is like there is an open pit of acid.
Fair point. Indeed.
This actually slightly segues into like a trophy question. So, I do have my crossbow. I could use it as a weapon, but I know I can also spend the ammunition to like lower its endurance, possibly.
Crossbow will be of no use against these creatures.
Oh, even if I aim for the head. Okay, cool. Good to know. That makes sense because they're skeletons. Then I am abstaining from this round.
Yargash hides in the corner. What's that? Horagast, are you with us?
Yeah, my ranged weapon is my Fey Bells. So I think perhaps if I clang, I might be able to disrupt the magic that's holding their bones together a bit.
We'll see.
So like as a weakness, a range endurance lowering exercise,
Maybe. I mean, if you want to do that, I mean, if you want to like do ranged attack first, you certainly can. If you want to risk the risk roll, I mean, they're collectively an endurance 9. It's not a super hard fight, but it's up to you.
I think I'll treat it as a ranged weapon in this context and fire at them with the sound.
Fantastic. Go ahead and get the risk roll on the table to see if you can lower their endurance any at all. There are no devil's bargains as such. You have to just like mark ammo, basically.
Yeah, so can someone remind me how the range thing works? I don't have the book open at the moment.
It's just a regular risk roll, except the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to lower their endurance or not, essentially.
Yeah.
And
you get light dice based on how many of the 3 slots of ammunition you're willing to risk.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
On every 3 or under reduces one of those boxes.
Right.
Okay, so I'm gonna go wage a 2, and do I have to take a dark die for this?
Not yet. They're not. The skeleton's not on top of you.
Okay.
Yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2 light and wait, and then if I get 3 or under, I lose the slot, right?
Correct.
So, all right, let's try this. I got a 4.
Fantastic. That will lower their total endurance down to 8, and that makes the fight a little easier for Oveha and Rias. Let's have a combat too. Horagast, describe how the bells are helping weaken them.
I think Horagast pulls out like the biggest of the Fey bells, and then the smallest, which is only about this big, and starts, ringing one of them up and down, and the other one in a complex pattern that Obeha will recognize as a rune, and saying, get back, you dead bastards," and just start stepping forward slowly, and they sort of retreat.
Indeed. All right, combat 2. Rias, you can go ahead and roll.
Snake eyes.
Snake eyes. Fantastic.
Which is not the worst result,
No,
honestly.
yeah, no
True,
one's a
yeah,
weak point,
true. No one's a
yeah.
weak point. All right, Obeha, start the combat.
I think like a bunch of just skeletons are pouring into the room. Horgus is waving around his bells. It is very distracting, but to Obeha because they are Fey bells. And Obeha is a Fey born. it could have been worse if like Abea was like a full-on fae, but like this is just like what are you doing? Like what are on earth? And I don't think like Abea just does anything for this round.
Yeah, Rias, go ahead.
So then it sounds like it's really just Rias in there, just again being action hero. Just with this, I think he starts with an arrow with a bow and arrows, and he finds like one or two arrows and plunks them through, but they like pass through the rib cage, just kind of doing nothing. And well, that's not going to work. So he puts the bow back over his shoulder, brings out his spear and shield, realizes none of his friends are standing with him, and but
Horror
still
guest is in his way.
yeah. I mean, Horgest is waving bells around, but I think Rias sees Obeya freeze up, and like as the skeleton is running towards them, like just full body hockey checks it into the wall, and bones go scattering everywhere. And Rias just kind of like gives Obeya a sort of deep look, but there's no time for words, and gets back into the fray.
Let's get that second die roll, Obeha.
Mm-hmm.
Combat 3.
8. But 1-3 ruin. I, I think just to continue to the sort of description of this, I think Obeha like literally is like distracted to the point where like the skeleton, like a skeleton gets up on them and like blows like a hit, and that like brings Obeha back. And I think like they take their staff and with like the crystal, and it just takes it and just starts whacking the head, smashing the skull.
Did you take a hit there?
Yes. I take 1 point of ruin.
Yeah, the way they hurt you is essentially they basically just rake at you with their sharpened bone hands. So you have scratches as well. Go ahead, Rias, finish it off.
Rias, he sees them. They're getting weakened by the ringing of the bells and the clattering of the bells, but we're losing ground. They're getting farther and farther in, and I think we see Rias actually get pushed up against this pit of acid. And we even get the moment where like one foot kind of slips. You see a couple little rocks go down into the acid and just pss, 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 pss. And then Rias like turns and looks back up and just gets clawed right across the face. But resurges and crashes into them with his spear. But he's not looking good.
Indeed not. Let's wrap up the fight. The last of the skeletons. Let's just destroy them. What does it look like?
Yeah, I think between Obeha just sort of taking the staff and just like aiming at like head like this, whacking them one by one. I think Rias is pretty nimble and is able to like regain balance, and like I think we just take them out with to the tune of ringing bells, I guess.
These clanging bells. You have to
Yeah, I
imagine
think
the
the small
chaos of this
one-
moment. Yeah.
The small one's like ding, 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 and the big one's like dong, 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 dong.
Let's just have this little moment right after the fight. The floor is now covered in smashed up bones wrapped in dried red vine. Everything is kind of just tossed around because of the weird gravity magic. And there's that strong smell from the acid that's been burning the stone, right? That sort of chlorine smell.
When the fighting is done, Yargash goes immediately just up to each of them, but particularly Rias and Obeha, wordlessly, and just sort of like, grabs at them just like in the very like examinatory way to examine like whatever cuts and wounds they sustain, just checking them for just anything concerning, but very doctor mindset, just begins kind of roughly looking over you guys.
Yeah, Reese is covered in cuts now and still has that
Slashes,
jagged cut.
tears,
Yeah.
yes.
You certainly have taken the worst of it. When we return to camp, I might be able to do something for you.
Well, then let's get what we need and get out of here.
How much pain are you in at the current moment, Riaz?
Enough.
I have a number of herbal remedies that numb pain on my person. Would you like me to prepare something for you to at least take the edge off?
I have my own, thanks. And Rias does, in fact, have a little sort of vial of numbing herbs as well, and probably either like applies them to this chest wound in particular.
My. I cannot say I'm familiar with those herbs. Do they hail from Nagane as well?
They do. They were not
Fascinating.
they were not really meant for these kind of wounds, but they'll suffice in this situation.
I shall bury my curiosity for the appropriate circumstances we find ourselves in, but I would very much like to hear more about these herbs. Back at camp, perhaps.
Back at camp, perhaps.
There's nothing else to do in this room.
Mhm. Gold roll.
Yeah. 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, take
No.
it. Nope, 0 gold. Trophy gold. Yep, that's it.
Just a bunch,
Trophy, no
just a bunch of
gold.
bones. Just a bunch of
Why?
bones.
Yeah, if there's
Just,
nothing else here, we can. Oh, go ahead.
I think before we leave the room, I think Horagast puts his bells carefully away and looks over to Obeha and raises his bushy eyebrows and just winks like, and then and nods sort of reassuringly, and then when no one else is looking, and then makes for the door.
I will tell you as you all leave this to go back out to the stairs, back into walls covered in red moss. I will tell you that by discovering the moss's weakness, indeed what they're scared of, what it's scared of, you have accomplished the sort of mission of this. You haven't found the source of the red moss, but with this knowledge, the camp should be able to help, the company should be able to help Pineacre at least come up with a solution of some sort to deal with their current problem. Getting to the source and dealing with the source would be really, really something. And out of character, there's much more treasure to find in this dungeon. You have you haven't really gotten to the heart of that part of it yet. And so, if you've met your burdens, you can certainly go back to camp. If you have not, you got to keep going.
I did have. I know you said there wasn't anything left to find in that room, but more sort of like an intuitive question on our way out of this defleshing space. Does it strike me as like a place of punishment or religion or like medicine?
It's quasi-religious and
quasi-religious.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Just curious. What do you guys think? Should we go deeper or should we go to that other structure?
I think I can smell gold.
No, that's the acid, old man.
Yeah, Rias, you'll have to avoid risk rolls at all, and help rolls. You're okay.
Yeah.
You're good for a combat still, maybe, but
Yeah.
a little
Yeah, I
tough on
think-
the risk.
I think like Obeha and like sort of like to avoid Yargash's prodding because I do not want him poking at my wounds because they're a little bit unusual, let's say.
Well, I'm an unusual doctor.
I don't want to be poked and prodded.
Then you should have said that instead.
You're back down to the juncture. You can continue on at the ground floor. It basically just immediately turns a corner and goes underneath the defleshing chamber.
Mhm.
Or you can go take the other branch to that room, the other room to the left.
How about we go underneath the defleshing chamber?
Here's a question. It might be just an easy no, but is the moss thicker in one direction than another?
That is an interesting question. I don't think you
Want
can
to ask
tell.
that?
I don't think you can
So
tell. I don't think you can tell.
okay.
The main thing you'll know for sure is that the moss is really leery of the defleshing room. So that's the most important feature in terms of that. But I mean, if you want a more careful investigation of that matter, I think that's interesting. I'm more interested in what you hope to learn from it, I suppose. Like, is it coming from a certain direction or whatever? But
Yeah, that would be the intent. Is if it was thicker in one area, that might give us a hint as to the source. But
oh, I see. That's pretty interesting. You could do a hunt roll. Yeah.
um, we have this. Well, I mean, the vial of acid. I don't know if that would really help here.
Maybe describe how.
Nah, not without like stretching and squinting, and I don't feel like abusing it that much.
I am. I will stretch and abuse all of our resources. I think because like generally I am more familiar with like acid and like chemical practices as well as just like I've been hanging around Horgress for like the past like I don't know how long, ever long we've been in here. Like and Horgress has been like poking and prodding the moss every so often with his wooden hand, and it does like have this sort of almost I wouldn't say quite sentient, but like there isn't a certain intelligence around like it interacting with objects.
Hmm.
So like by placing like the sort of vial of acid towards like certain areas, it will retreat and like just sort of like trying to get it to circle back into like a certain direction. Because like if it like starts to like just pile up in a certain
That could be
place,
pretty
then
clever. Yeah. You make a hunt roll with two
Mhm.
dice.
Mhm.
That's a great
And
question, actually.
yeah, so
What'd you
yeah,
get?
it's just I got a 6 light.
Take your token. Yes. It it's like an inhalation and exhalation, right? And
Mhm.
it inhales, so to speak, toward the continuation of the corridor, not up in the other direction, but
Mhm.
continuing on underneath the other structure. That's the right way to
think
go.
I think Horrorgas turns to Yargash as Obeha makes this discovery and says, "See, that's why you poke things."
I've never been averse to poking things. Oh, no, you were. Yes, I understand your meaning now, old man. Yes.
What's the plan? What's everyone doing?
think we're
I
following it.
think I think Ope is just taking front because I do have a staff that can poke things in case that there is more pit traps.
Yes, and Yargash is kind of more keenly following behind Obeha, both hands gripping the jar of acid, kind of ready to be like, if this moss is anything fucky, I'm tossing it like on the moss.
Mhm.
As you continue on, basically it kind of cuts right and goes underneath the defleshing room. If you look up in the light, you can even see the depression in the ceiling where the acid vat is as it kind of hangs down. It's very sound, at least. And
Mhm.
it does kind of like dip a bit, and it's quite wet from the flooding. And so you have to kind of slosh through some water as you walk underneath the defleshing chamber. And since you've described yourself being very alert for it, Abeha, you will notice one of those mosaic tile floors right ahead of you, like the one that collapsed
Mhm.
underneath. Rias, what do you do?
Is there like any decently sized rocks nearby?
Um, sure.
Okay, like I'm talking about like 10 to 15 pounds, like
Sure. Yeah,
heavy.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And I'm just gonna yeet it towards like the mosaic tile to
It
like try to trigger.
it was a trap. It collapses and the little door slides over.
Good thinking, Obeha.
See, that's just unoriginal. What a hack. Whoever designed this dungeon was a hack.
Do you know the old saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice?
Mhm.
Now, the prison of the hated pretender, that was a dungeon. Oh,
It was something. You it it goes down a little bit further past that and then hangs right again into the Hall of Remembrance. The most famous of Gavain, this legendary hero, the most famous of Gavain's lineage stand here. Once perfectly represented in pure white marble, they are now shrouded in bloody cordage and coated in the filth of the recent floods. I've got a picture for you to add to the company book
Ooh.
Artwork.
to memorialize this. These statues in different poses. There are 5 of them in total in this chamber. I will also tell you that as you come into the chamber to the left, there is a door on one wall. So you have these 5 statues. You've got this door to the left. There might be some other things to see, but for now we're going to take our second break. See you in 5. As you step into the Hall of Remembrance, this great chamber, even despite the thick smell of the moss and the mold and the water, the damp, despite the corrosion and the muck, it is a place of awe. These towering statues. And then there's a shimmer, a glow, as another specter appears. Not the same one from before. This time one that looks just like the statue at the entrance to the crypt. A towering warrior in armor, but glowing, scintillating, transparent. Who defiles the crypt of Gavain the White? Who defiles this holy place? Who challenges my lineage? Though my body is no longer of this world, my spirit is still fierce. You have a new set goal. Turn back the spirit of Gavain the White. I will take one good risk roll solution, or it's combat with a specter. Or spend tokens.
We spent all our pocket money, didn't we? So we don't have any tokens.
I have 1 hunt token.
Yeah, no.
I've got none.
Or turn back.
No, I have a thought. It's just okay. Not quite in terms of risk rolls. I'll just kind of like give an overview of an idea, which is like to speak to this specter that of to say like the only reason we are here is because the moss from this place is spreading out beyond its confines and infecting innocent people.
And presumably the moss is not supposed to be here, right? So
yeah, like it's like we're defiling your tomb because of the shit that's coming out of it. Like,
yeah. That's
It's
great.
already defiled.
Like in terms of like sort of things that we could use to help, I do have a silver holy symbol, so like I could just pull that out in terms of like just like.
I mean, are we trying to offend it, or are we trying to reason with it?
I would say let's try reasoning with this Gavain the White first.
Guide us through the risk roll, please. Yeah,
I will.
Gosh.
I hope that this spirit will see reason and lightly ignore the fact that we are defiling the tomb. But just the hope that it'd be like, oh, okay, cool, you can pass.
Okay.
What could go wrong?
It is not pleased and it attacks you. It does not care.
This is where the skeletons came from, and there's more of them.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I think that's just the easy,
Yeah.
obvious stuff. Is it doesn't care.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
In terms of getting my first light die, I will say that as one who, as coming from my background as an atoning jailer, I saw a lot of bad shit in Barstool Prison. I have the skill of punishment, and I've seen a lot of people like grovel and beg, and I'm kind of like being like trying to avoid
You're
its wrath
supplicating.
by supplicating to the ghost and being more very like, yes,
I'll take
please.
it. I'll take it.
Cool.
I'll take it. Yeah. You're gonna have to role play the hell out of that, but I like it.
You know me, Jason. I can monologue.
Fantastic. Yeah, keep going.
Oh yeah, I'll always hear out devil's bargains because I'm doing pretty okay, just not monetarily. So
My devil's bargain is no matter what, touching the treasures in this room will just will earn the ghost's ire. So if you succeed, you can't touch the treasures
in this room,
in this room. If you fail, that will just be the case regardless. So yeah.
okay.
I will give in sort of a different thing. No matter what, the ghosts will know your sins that you committed at Barsoul Prison.
Ooh,
Mine
that's
is
good.
no matter what, you'll become disorientated and think you're back in Basel prison, and that you're negotiating with the warden. Like you'll basically become unmoored from
You
prison.
re-traumatize yourself. Yeah, that's great.
Oh,
Those
that's a
are all
tasty one.
really good. I'm sitting here trying to figure out how Bright Tooth Cereal is involved, but those are really
Yeah,
good
'cause that's my
too.
drive. Yeah.
Like maybe Gawain has really bright teeth, but
Yeah.
that's not.
No.
No.
I really like the idea because, like, I'm an atoning jailer. I have thoughts about that. I won't get too deep into it for the sake of the delve, but I love the idea of like the weight of the abhorrent shit I may have done there, like, is like an aura that the ghost can sense.
Oh, I love it. It's great. I'm ready
Yeah.
to roleplay that. Let's do it.
Yeah, 100%.
You got 2 light dice. I don't think
I'm
you need
not
the dark yet.
Yeah, because I'm not risking anything yet. So
I mean, mind kind of, but it's okay for now, though. Yeah.
That's a 6.
Hey, there you go. You give me the scene.
Yeah,
To start
I
it,
think
at least.
as the specter appears, Yargash like stands forward when it says like who defiles his tomb and says, "Spirit, we defile this place not because we wish to intrude, but because something ill has broken free from its depths. An ochre moss, red, infectious, something that I, as a man of medicine and sciences, have been trying to root out with the help of my company men. I implore thee, of one noble, valorous spirit such as yourself, to look past the sins of my meager frame and that of my companions, but understand we are here dedicatedly. We are here trying desperately to relinquish the suffering of our fellows and the innocent folk of nearby villages."
Insect. Groveling vermin. I am not impressed by your abasement, and I have looked deep into your soul, and I have found it most wanting. You are a creature of cruelty, of cowardice, of craven crawling in the muck. And yet, I have have sensed the alien presence. I agree it must be removed. My strength wanes for now. If you plunder this place, I shall chase you.
I think he just like,
He's
has his
gone for
head like
now.
lowered. Yeah, has his head lowered and just kind of like swallows audibly as there's just like this weight on his shoulders. His back is to the group and he just kind of is lost in thought for a moment before he like shakes his head and turns back to the others and says, "Perhaps we should double back and see if the other structure has profitable means of bettering ourselves at camp. We have found significant needs. Perhaps other members of the company could make a more dedicated and prepared expedition further."
To be clear, the ghost disappears and it will not reappear in this delve. You can take whatever you want.
But it will chase us.
It might just be talking shit.
Oh,
so,
true.
Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I won't say that, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you
like,
can't blame it for wanting to warn you, at least.
yeah, I think sort of just like I think we have like a conversation about whether or not the ghost was lying or not
Yeah.
about chasing us.
I don't often deal with the people in the afterlife. That tends to be a marker of a job poorly done in my profession.
I will tell you, while you're having this conversation, you can't help but notice that the various statues, they're all like holding things that look valuable. One has a gold bowl, one has a silver chalice that's not part of the sculpture, it's in the hand, and things like that, just at a glance. Horgus, what are you doing?
I think Haragast comes up to Yargash and sort of slaps him on the shoulder slightly too hard with the wooden arm and says, "Wow, the ghost really had you nailed. It's a great description." And then just starts whistling and goes off to start looting.
Indeed.
think-
What are you doing right now, Rias?
Glowering. Being called vermin might not have been
I think it was just talking to Yargash, to be fair.
yeah, but I heard it. Okay, yeah. In that case, then yeah, it's standing forward and going, they like vermin down in Nagane. You might have a future there if it doesn't work out in the company. Just pat him on the back, and yeah, I think also move forward to
Just a withering stare.
And I think Ria's grins back as if to say like, yeah, I was just talking shit.
Obeha, what are you up to?
I'm really curious, Yagosh, what on earth you did that it was noticeable by a ghost.
It is a matter behind me. We should proceed with the job. And I'm just going to walk over to one of those statues to examine what's in its hands.
You can go ahead and make the hunt roll since you're actively doing that. Horgus, what are you doing right now?
I am using attunement to find the shiniest, most magical treasure that I can set my greedy little eyes upon.
You can certainly make the hunt roll as well, Obeha.
Yeah, I'm like there's like gold objects in the hands of these statues. I'm trying to figure out a way to like just grab them and just stash them in the little like bag I have.
Go ahead
on
and
me.
make a hunt roll as well.
Yeah, and
everybody's getting a hunt roll here.
Yeah.
Rias, what about you?
And
yeah, I think Rias is going to be looking around for treasure. Particularly either of another piece of armor would be lovely, but if these statues, if they all look the same, then sure, whatever. But if they look different, everybody's kind of gravitating towards their thing. So Rias is going to gravitate towards astrology. Maybe one of them was a scholar. Look to the skies, look to the stars.
Make your roll.
Sure.
I do have rope, so I would see if like maybe if they need to fasten anything around it to help lift treasure, I can use that for my
Yeah,
hunt
I mean,
roll.
I think just a cursory glance for now will do.
So
Um,
one die.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
So
So one
five.
I
die
got a
for
3.
no, I'll take your astrology and your attunement justifications, Horagest and Rias.
I got a 3, which is wonderful.
got a 4.
Okay.
Uh, could I argue symbols for Obeha?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a roll. So
Okay.
I got a 5.
hmm Fuck, a 3.
Well, those of you who got the threes, I'll go ahead and tell you what you see. There's 5 statues, and the one that you're looking at of Beha is Regor the Silent, a statue of a robed monk with a bald head, eyes closed in contemplation. And there's nothing, he's not holding anything or doing anything in particular that looks, or he's just sort of eyes cast down, you know. But maybe that causes you to look down as well. You earlier you tried to like make a connection between like line of sight with the little engraving. Maybe there's a bit of that going on here, and so you're seeing
hmm
what it's looking at. And as you look down, you see that you're standing in a thick red muck on the floor. Horagest, you are attuning to the most powerful thing in this room, such as it is. Lady Isabel, a beautiful woman pouring libations to dancing nymphs in her statue, is holding a silver chalice, and the silver chalice is positively thrumming with power. You can take it.
I'm going to do it because I know you want me to, so I'm definitely going to take it.
And as you take it, as soon as you take it from her hands, even though there wasn't anything in it a moment before, there is now. Water just begins spilling out of the chalice from somewhere, spattering into the red muck, which you now notice as well. And you can see that the red muck is coming, emanating from underneath that door to the left as you come in. The muck is reacting to being splashed with the water a little bit. Rias, you are looking, and I'm not sure how much the astrology notes help, but I did pick up on what you said about looking for armor, because one of the statues is wearing armor. It's wearing scale mail and holding a mace. You can take them if you wish.
Absolutely.
You
Scale
can
mail and mace.
you can be taking them both, yes, absolutely. And Yargosh, there's a statue, and that's the statue of Pezal the Fury, by the way. There's a statue of Iphizith of many colors, stern, bespectacled, with outlandish beard, in deep study. What'd you get on your roll?
5.
5. He's not holding anything apparent that is of apparent value, but there is another statue, one of Gavain the White. Except it's Gavain the White unarmored and kneeling in supplication. Raised in his hands, he holds forth a golden bowl, just as you were begging. At one time, Gavain begged with his golden bowl. What do you do?
I'd be curious to at least get a better look at this golden bowl to see if it merely seems valuable or special.
At a glance and going off your last roll still, it looks valuable.
Well, I'd like to take it. Call me begging vermin, yet you supplicate yourself as well, pompous fuck.
Take the bowl and put it in your gear.
It's like worth like what, 1 gold?
No, it's worth 2, actually. The red muck is very, very thick around all of your ankles now at this point. It's going to take you a minute to get strapped into that armor, Rias, but you can be doing it. Everyone else, what are you doing right now? The red muck is flowing from underneath that door.
Oh, that's where it's coming from, isn't it?
What's coming from? Oh my goodness.
Oh, look, another unsavory secret behind a door.
Should we try the acid?
Can I confirm, Jason, what effect did I see? You said the water had an effect on the muck.
It just responded, like by being touched by it. It kind of quivered, right?
Do I know how much? So the chalice is magic. What was the name of the lady again? Sorry.
Lady Isabel.
Oh, yeah, Isabel.
I guess the lineage of Gavain the White.
Ah, yes. I think probably we should try and flee now.
As you're all pondering what to do, the door is starting to swell a little bit.
Everyone out of the room now, back the way we came.
I'm gonna spend a hunt token to find a piece of treasure.
Indeed. You will find behind the statue of Rhaegor the Silent, behind him on the plinth, is a sack of silver, a symbolic casting off of worldly goods, worth 1 gold.
Mine now.
Indeed. The door begins to crack. You can hear it buckling. What are you all doing?
Running the fuck away, back the way we came.
Now is the time to flee. This is the time. This is the bit when we flee.
If we had more time, then that could be dealt with. But
Rias,
no,
are you staying to put the armor on, to finish putting the armor on?
Can I just carry it?
You can carry it, but if you want to put it on to be usable, you got to stay there and do it.
I will carry it with me for now. When I see that the door is buckling, I think Rias will look up at this figure, and I mean, somebody called the Fury in this guy's lineage. That's badass as hell. And so I think what he does is he plucks the armor off, takes the mace, and he just maybe in a Naganese fashion, just kisses the statue just on the corner of the lips and says, "Thank you, Pasal the Fury. I will remember you how I can." And then just darts out, and is probably the last one out then.
As you're all running back up the corridor, you hear the splintering and the crack of the wood. And you hear behind you, you have a new set goal if you turn back, which is to destroy the source of the red moss.
Oh.
But if you keep running, then you will not be doing that.
I have a hunt token.
I have 1.
I have none. Argus?
Can I go for a little bit of a Hail Mary and do a hunt roll now to try and find something in the environment to get a token to solve it?
I think it would have to be justified in the fleeing somehow. What would you be looking for?
A place we could lure it, maybe?
Yeah, patterns, paths, construction.
I'm not worried about the skill. I just want to know what you're trying to accomplish and what questions you want to know here.
I mean, essentially some way of destroying it. How can we lure it to the acid vat, perhaps?
That's a great question.
Or break the acid vats from
right on top of it. Oh,
yeah.
That's such a fucking great idea.
That
is what I would like to do.
That's a justification for the hunt roll. Go ahead and roll it. If you get a token,
Oh,
you can just spend them, of course.
God, James, you're
uh,
a fucking genius.
oh, you. I got a 3.
Oh no.
Okay, but we can still attempt that. Like we have a
You can still attempt it. You're
With
there.
risk rolls or whatever. Yeah, let's
It's
do
a
it.
I think you've spent enough time for the thing to catch up to you, however. And what it is, you don't know the name, but I will tell you that it is Ursodiol the Mad. Blood Moss Core. Ursudiel the Mad, an infected mage, infected by the core of the blood red moss. His body is unfortunate. It is horrifically disfigured. Red tendrils pulsate under the skin and push through tattered flesh, revealing the connection to the bloody threads that anchor it to this world. It floats towards you, this pulsating, twisted, skeletal ghoul thing. I will also tell you it can control the red moss, which is pressing in as carefully avoiding the top part of the flesh chamber. It is definitely pressing in underneath. It doesn't know about the vat above it. You're all pressed in under that space. What's the plan?
So like I kind of owe it to you to say I think were I to use my geomantic miscellany to I'm basically sort of improvising a ritual, but I mean masonry stays together mostly through memory and tight-fitting blocks and inertia. I would simply like to encourage the masonry to no longer cohere, but I'll need help to get it on is Uso, the mad mage
To lure
underneath
it
it.
to lure it there. Yeah, I think that's a good plan. This is going to be a really tricky risk roll, but I'm into it. Guide us through the risk roll, James.
What could go wrong?
Acid falls on top of us.
You are all doused in acid and in combat with both. It's two combats. It's the Moss and it's Ursudiel the Mad.
Dear.
That the I mean, yeah, another thing that could go wrong is simply that you actually overcompensate a little bit, or just maybe you don't even get it at all, and it's like you're gonna bring parts of the tomb down, structures falling.
Yeah, either we get buried alive or our way is cut off.
And I think for my light die, I mentioned the geomantic
I'll take
miscellany
it.
that
Yeah.
I'm essentially using geomancy to influence the structure of
Mhm.
the. And then devil's bargains, not what's going to happen no matter what.
I honestly think that you've been using so much geomantic power this whole time. It's kind of taking a toll on you now. Like it's like weakening you.
Garalem's curse is always waiting to. This has happened
Yeah,
before. If I overexpend myself, I turn into
Well, and
things.
I was going to use Garlem's curse to put an extra dark die in your roll too, so that makes sense to me. Like you were just you have touched it one too often, one too many times. But I will offer my own devil's bargain though, which is that yeah, I think basically I think basically what happens is maybe it's connected to Garlem's curse, I'm not sure, but basically I think what happens is like the stone of this land turns on you.
I think I'd be pretty useless if that happened. I kind of like the idea that basically parts of me, like maybe my other arm or something like that, my curse, like riffing off the idea that I lose more of my body to the curse.
If there's no other offers, I mean, yeah.
So
And
he's. I'll go ahead. So Kurt.
I have nothing to offer because damn, the curse is just so good.
Is this a risk 2-2 then, Jason?
It is a risk 2-2, yeah.
This could be very bad. I got a light 6.
Light 6. That's what you want. Everyone can help narrate how they help lure Ursodiel the Mad beneath the space, and then Horrigus can destroy it.
I will throw out there right away that Yargash is, with the jar out, splashing acid in like strategic, almost surgical areas to help like hem and shepherd it into the right spot.
I think just as a general nuisance type of matter, because it's like Rias is not doing so hot in terms of physicality. Like Abea is just like literally throwing like rocks at the mad mage, like drawing his attention towards me, and I'm just like sort of leading it like a dog on a leash.
And even though Rios is not necessarily doing well, I think still he uses this opportunity to somebody has to like get closer to this thing to like at least let it think that it's about to get us, and it's got to be Rios, and Rios is like just always one step ahead of it, and finally like gets up on top of a dais and like claps his spear to his shield and says, I am Rias Ilsmat. My mother was Anarita Ilsmat. My father was the razor in the wind. You will not catch me this day. And begins like growing into tiger form, and like right as this giant mossy arm comes down, just like leaps out of the way underneath the spot where the acid's supposed to come down.
Horrigus, finish it off.
So Horrorgast has the miscellany out again and is withdrawing more runes and turns to the sort of shambolic figure and says, "You forgot the most important lesson, you hideous creature. We consider combat to be a failure." And then I'll just do the rune, and then the whole acid thing just collapses, and this massive gout of acid just splashes down, like covers about a 20-foot surface. Everyone's managed to get out of the way, and it just douses the whole space.
Fantastic. The Yeah, I mean, basically, as soon as you kill the core, the red moss stops moving toward you, and it will eventually wither away. The ghoul is just flailing around. It looks a little bit like Frank in Hellraiser, when he's kind of like just a mucky skeleton, like, kind of like sloughing around on the ground. And then eventually it stops. This would have been a gold 10 if somebody wants to roll that.
Sure, I'll take a stab at rolling gold 10. 1 gold.
There's only one thing on it. On its bony hand, there is a signet ring. A signet ring of the line of the House of Gavain the White, bearing an image of an owl in an oak tree. It's worth 1 gold.
Well, unless anyone has an issue with it.
I want it.
Okay, then I'll give it to you.
Thank
He'll
you.
take the ring off of its gross finger and like examine it, take out like a little like surgeon's cloth, like rubs it clean, holds it up into like the torchlight and just says, "My Obeha, gift it to you."
Thank you.
Let it never be said that the surgeon is an ingenerous sort.
Indeed. Anything else before we leave?
I think as we prepare to leave, Horrorgas looks at his hand, which has crystalline fingertips, and sees that the crystalline is spreading, and he looks through his hand, and he looks to all of you, and his hand just crumbles. His whole arm crumbles to dust, leaving just a sort of crystalline stump and he says, "Such is Carolyn's curse."
Note that as a condition, please, as well. Fantastic. Anything else at the end here?
I'm gonna hold just to make sure I remember this correctly. I'm gonna hold on to my last hunt token because those can be used
They can be
between
used in
delves.
between delves.
Yeah, great. I'll hold that onto that for future things.
I'll hold on to mine as well. Although I really need to reduce ruin.
Indeed. Obeya,
Yeah.
anything at the end here?
Not here.
Then let me do a little bit of housekeeping with you both, or with all of you rather. Read the objects that you found in the Hall of Remembrance. The sack of silver is just a sack of silver worth 1 gold. Yargosh, the bowl, is just, it's a very beautiful bowl, but it's worth 2 gold, and there's nothing else special about it. Horrigas, the chalice, will pour a huge amount of water every day if you want it to. It's a very, very powerful and valuable magic item worth 5 gold. You can sell it. You can keep it. If you keep it, it increases your burdens by 1 permanently. Or you can give it to the vault and get 3 vouchers. Vouchers allow you to join a delve without burdens and to get a free armor unmark. Rias. The mace of Pazal the Fury is magic. When you speak the word ignite, it lights on fire. It is worth 3 gold, or it can be held and kept for, you can keep it, increasing your burdens, or you can give it to the vault for 3 vouchers. The scale mail is just beautiful scale mail that does increase your burdens. If it increases your burden, no, it doesn't increase your burdens, but you have to spend an extra gold to unmark it beyond your normal 2. So you can have up to 4 pieces of armor. So, or you can sell it for 2 gold. So,
for 2 gold. I will note that.
Do I have any sense of how much my flask filled with the silvery liquid is worth?
It's worth, once you get back to town, you will be able to learn, or back to the camp, you'll be able to learn that it's a healing potion. It heals 1 ruin.
I'm absolutely keeping that.
Anything else that I need to tell you about that you grabbed?
Not stuff that we grab, but rather the spelling of names, such as the names of the statues.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can do that back in Discord. Yeah.
I think I will go ahead and spend my 1 hunt token to get a piece of treasure.
Okay, sure. On the way out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you. I'm actually going to give you. Now with a little bit more like time and safety, you can go back, and if you look at that obsidian statue, one of its eyes in the skull socket is a small diamond worth 1 gold.
Ooh. It wasn't worth anything. I just took it because it was interesting. But the acid and the canopic jar with the embalming fluid and the organs in that,
there's no gold value to it.
Can those just exist in my found equipment, or do I have to move them to backpack? Okay, cool.
It's found equipment. Yeah.
Cool.
But it doesn't have
The golden bowl was just a golden bowl. It was just
worth 2
magic.
gold.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I'll sell that back at camp.
Fantastic. You all arrive back at camp having destroyed the source of blood red moss, and you're welcomed as heroes. And that concludes this delve. I will see you all on Discord. Goodbye to folks watching the video.